be seen, to be accepted, to be loved, to be seen, to be accepted, to be loved, to be listened to for some of us. I'm talking about shared common desires, needs, wounds, but our natural, maybe it's just a natural, maybe it's remembering a natural way of being, or a desire for the next step of a emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically fulfilling experiences. So yeah, I will speak for myself now. When I was a younger person, when I was a kid, I just wanted peace. And I wanted my mom to be okay. I wanted her to be happy. So we could all be happy. That was me and my brother and my father, and my dad, I guess. But yeah, I wanted to make her happy, and I thought if she was happy, the family would be happier. The rest, if she was happy, I would be happy. Basically, that's the truth of it. And so I wanted to please her, and I wanted to learn from her. I wanted to entertain, be entertaining, lighten the mood and the atmosphere. So this is a little bit different than the direct relationship with my mother. But the feeling of the energy of the room, I didn't have words for it, but I wanted to move my body and feel good and make people laugh and smile. So that's like entertainment. I wanted to sing, and I used to sing a lot when I was a kid. And my mom recorded me at one point. I think I was maybe 6 or 7, and she was like, "You sound like you're screeching," and she needed me to hear what I sounded like, and I stopped because it did not sound good. It sounded good in my head, and then I don't always remember, but I have when I do remember, it's a sharp memory of being shocked that that's what my voice sounded like and how out of tune it was. What I will say now from this perspective is that I'm a harmonizer, and I was trying to be in tune with my environment and tune my environment. So this is what I mean when I say I wanted to be seen and supported, encouraged, heard, eventually heard, because at some point soon after that, my mom told me that I talked too much and that I only like to hear the sound of my own voice, and that shut me up. And I feel like I just got my true voice back in 2019. So now I'm exercising it more and sharing it more. And what I mean by voice is the true, honest expression of my soul. So that's what I was bringing to my early life, my early relationships, and my early family. I just remember, and a lot of kids do this, you get in front of your parents and you sing and you dance with your cousin or your siblings or just yourself. And when it's put down, it's like my mom had said, "I can't wait till your brother is older because he can't dance because you can't dance. He's following you." My brother's 3 years younger. I was going to say was. So anyways, yeah, so these are memories that are coming up as I am thinking and relaxing by the river. It's a little afternoon at this point. I usually am out here around 8 or 9. I don't know, 10. I don't know. I'm out here at different times and I'm in different spots, but yeah, I just had a very interesting conversation, several conversations with the person at the shelter. I had seen him yeah, we just happened to be walking out at the same time. And we just ended up having a conversation. It was really interesting. A lot got said, and there was some people who were listening in, some people had to walk away, and we were talking about God, and we were talking about experiences in love and spiritual warfare organizations across factions in the earth that can be represented at any university or any party where there's a lot of mixed cultures or mixed, because we could all actually, anyways, that's getting into something else. So we're just talking about how when I'll speak for myself, having certain experiences, having certain dreams, or having certain visions, especially in 2020 when I was isolated with COVID, I feel like I died, and more than once. And so it could be a near-death experience, but I was the one there, you know. And so a lot of things happen when there's just been more of an integration and a knowledge of my past lives, and not just my past lives on Earth, and not just my past lives as a human on Earth. So there's been a lot of information, and in 3 months, I'm talking all over the place, but this is how it is. One day my story might be told in a more coherent chapter by chapter way, but healing is not linear. My life certainly wasn't. There's a linear timeline, obviously, that I was born into, but the experiences of memory and time travel, space travel, these are things that were done internally, and I think that most people do it. They just don't think of it that way. So I guess a lot came up in the conversation with the person at the shelter, and we ended talking about our loves, the last love, the last loves that we've had, and how there are clues to the people at the beginning of the relationship. We're talking about succubus energy, sex magic, and obviously I'm gonna speak for myself. Obviously, if I wasn't interested in all, I wouldn't have been at all involved. There's energy. I was talking to him about because we were talking about God, and we were talking about a bunch of stuff, and I was telling him one of my paths. Well, I was born again through Yeshua in my early 20s. And then shortly after that, a year or two, I started consciously practicing agape love. I was celibate for a little over 7 years. And then, so I've had bouts of abstinence, I've had bouts of celibacy, but this was in my 20s, it was a actual conscious celibate. Because I wanted to see what people, my path of love has been conscious since I was 16. But I wanted to see more about love and what people really wanted, because at the time in my early 20s, there was a lot of people getting married, even having babies, having all kinds of relationships, and I wanted, and people were people were unhappy, and my perception, right, and the people that I was around. And so I wanted to know more about love in a way that didn't have sex involved, because I am I like sex, but I just haven't been in relationship. Like, I have so many gaps in relationships. And as I got older, especially after I started on my path with Yeshua, I realized that my body was so sacred, like it's spiritual, like I couldn't just be with anybody, or if I was with just anybody, I would have to separate my love from the physical, animalistic or whatever, the physical act, which is a completely natural. I feel like it's like eating and sleeping. Like I really miss sexual activity, but because I'm bringing this up to say that we were talking about our paths of our spiritual paths, and so I practice agape love, and what I realized in getting to know people is that they wanted connection, they wanted intimacy, they wanted to be able to open themselves up and be accepted by another. That's what I got from the relationships that were in, because they never turned sexual, and I had different kinds of, I would say, friendships. I could sleep in a bed with people and be naked, right? Literally be physically naked, and that without the expectation of sex or the pressure of sex or the possibility of sex, there's an allowance of another kind of nakedness, an emotional nakedness, mental, like people are. And so the stories, I'm getting teary because we were just talking about how we deal with people, and for me it's individual. I cherish the person in front of me. The person in front of me is a precious resource. That's what I used to say back in the day. Now I think of more so in the last 2 or 3 years of people as universes, and which means they're creators and they're creations, and I honor that because I honor myself, and I know who I am, and I'm grateful that I was born and that I'm made and that I get to create. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of thoughts going on right now, but I still want to share. And I want to say about how I started this was to be seen, to be heard, to form a connection in a safe way, to be transparent, because there's insecurity involved in this. Of course, this could be edited or not uploaded at all, or just for me. Part of what I'm doing right now is coming out of hermit mode, coming out of a more protective mode. Also, I feel like I was born again in 2020, so I'm technically like 3 years old, and so I'm like in my toddler phase. I'm like, I want to see what's around. It's like I feel like I was isolated. I have been healing. I have had a lot of revelations about my past, the people in my life, my most recent life. But now there's an expansion. I know I'm a multidimensional being. I have more information, and I'm a lot of times I feel like I'm living and I'm experiencing and I'm sharing and I'm reflecting, because I've always done that since I was very young. Observer, looking around, and mostly being like, confused. And then, I'm one of those kids that asked why a lot, was curious, asked too many questions. And then, and I'm mocking it because it's a part of nature. It's a natural thing to be curious about things in the environment and what people say and what people do. And what ended up happening is when the answers were not forthcoming, or I didn't like the answers, or there was no answers, I looked within and I asked and I got answered. And that's how I have a connection with my I was going to say my God, my guides, my angels, my ancestors from all times, from all lives, right? I was taught and guided to certain books, guided to certain people, certain television shows, certain teachers, certain conversations with strangers. It's pretty similar to now, except there's a different kind of awareness. I'm very conscious when I'm talking to people. I really am okay, we're talking about this today. The difference is that before 2019 or before 2020, I was really my whole philosophy has been love regardless. So I was just really wanting people to have what they wanted and their dreams to come true, and us to just prosper together and to celebrate, to be together, you know. To have, you know, certain people in my life, to have a business together, to go after our dreams, you know. I'm shaking because the revelations that happened, obviously a lot of masks got taken off in 2020 and 2021. There were people who I was around and loving who weren't for me, but I was for them. And that was my wish and my dream and my desire since I was a young kid. So that's what I was manifesting, and I was doing it consciously. That's the issue. So I guess I'm just really all emotional. Just fine. And this is like obviously self-critique. There's insecurity. There's also teaching and sharing and being transparent, because this is the way I think, and this is the way I heal myself, and this is the way I deal with myself, and this is the way that I talk to myself. This is the way that I love myself. Complete acceptance of who I am, and I'm sharing that now with whoever's watching. This is how I've operated in the world. Complete acceptance of who people are. Seeing people at their best. And that was my imagination, and that was my projection. So seeing with loving eyes, seeing who I think they are without the wounding, and without what I find is a distortion, because my path is love and my interest is love. Anything that isn't love, that wants to be loved, that wants to be loved and seen and heard and accepted, there's that attraction. And there's been that the whole way through. Now, seeing people in that same loving light and having a broader scope, and this is the gift that I've been given in the last couple years. This is a gift, I feel like, from the universe to me, to be able to also simultaneously see people where they are right at the moment of our interaction, where it's a multi-view. It's a, you know, it's a bird's eye view. It's a heart to heart view, because that's where I'm at right now. Relating with people based on my heart resonance. I'm in my own energy. It's not the same as connecting directly, and it's not the same. I'm connected with nature. It's just broader. I'm not connecting with people so intimately. When I'm one-on-one, I'm always with God, and I'm always with Mother Earth, and I'm always with myself, and myself is full of life and full of death and full of darkness and full of light. I've lived. And we were just talking about, I was like, so we're having a conversation. It's a new, I've only talked to him twice. And so I said, like, when we're talking, I said, I want to tell you the perspective that I'm coming from. I was born in a free will universe, and I went to the path of unconditional love. So I'm coming from, as a being, as a foundation, a free will universe and unconditional love, right? And then I build from that. That's a sovereign being, right? I make choices, right? And even when I wasn't conscious of those choices, as far as growing up, I'm talking about these 45 years from May of 1978 to present. Now that I've had my deaths and rebirths along the way, but especially in 2020, I want to say my mom passed in 2022. She in 2020 also. She passed August 1st, 2020. When she passed over, we had been estranged. When she passed over, instead of this feeling of hitting a wall or darkness, there was just this broad, clear, beautiful warmth, energy just flowing. And then maybe a few days later dissipating. But I got so many gifts back. That's what I want to say. So much soul retrieval. So it's just been trickling along. All my ancestors are on the other side right now. There's my mom, my biological father, their parents. So my direct, you know what I'm saying? It's me. So everybody's on the other. It's just different. I have a different kind of connection. I already had it, but the tumultuous relationship that I had with my mother, having her on the other side of her spirit, like there's relief. She got to know who I am, who I've been, even before I was born, before I was in her womb. And and that the forgiveness was all the way through. My mom thought I blamed her for my father's death. My mom is responsible for my dad's death. She stabbed him and he bled to death April 18th, 1978. I was born less than a month later, May 17th, 1978. So she's 8 months pregnant with me. I was there, right? Obviously, it was a shock to all of us when it happened the first time. So anyways, there's a broader view. And so that beautiful flowing energy was a lot of just love and understanding. And I knew that everything was okay. Because my mom, I brought that up to say that my mom blamed me. My mom thought that I blamed her for being responsible for my father's death. And so she raised me. This came out in my early 20s when we actually talked about this. She raised me in a way where she thought I was judging her and she thought I was mad at her and that she was just a bad person. I loved my mother. So that was my main relationship when I was younger. That was my orientation. And that was, now I know it's codependency, but it's from the time I was a baby. And then when we had our estrangement and we were falling out when I was getting older, especially when I turned 16 and went on the path of God is love, and just, I didn't understand God, but I was going to explore what love was. I knew I couldn't please her. I had been feeling like my love wasn't good. Like she would say to us, like me and my brother and my dad, we all be sitting together. Oh, nobody loves me. Oh, we love you. I love you. I used to do that when I was young, and I stopped when I was about 9. I was like, I can't. Like this person doesn't receive my love, and as an empath, and as I now know, we had a lot of psychic. In our family line, our matrilineal line, there's a lot of psychic gifts, and that's telepathy. It's picking up on feelings and words, but it's deep. And we also have that tongue. We have the word. And I don't know if many of the people in my family really understand this, but we manifest with our words. Okay. So to get back to, so the issues that I thought she didn't like me. I thought she didn't accept me while I was growing up. She thought I didn't like her and didn't accept her. So we were in this loop, and it was awful. And when she told me that, that's when I got free. That was in my early 20s. That was before the giving myself to God completely. And it's because I was seeking forgiveness. I wanted to forgive her. I was weighed down. I had been silenced, choked, lived in fear, because sometimes she would tell us, I don't want to have to go back to jail. Right? She went to jail for being responsible for my father's death, for stabbing him. And he bled out So it was manslaughter because the neighborhood that they were in, the response for the paramedics and the cops was too late. So that was taken into account. She was also the youngest of 8 on her mother's side, and they were high members of the church, and number 4 on her father's side. And so they were deacons and preachers in the top part of the church. So she had a lot of help at that time, but now I know that she had a lot of curses put on her too. Because she's the product of an affair. So when I say that her dad was a deacon, her mom was a preacher's wife. So yeah. So that's stuff that I inherited, and that I've worked through. So we were talking about generational healing. We were talking about how we are going about that. And yeah, this is a lot. I don't know if I'm going to if this is less than 25 minutes, I'll publish it. But if it's not, I'm not going to. Yeah, because I just got into a lot of stuff. So but I will say the generational healing, I did my part. And with this Virgo moon, with this Taurus sun in the 12th house, if you know, you know. Venus in Gemini in the 1st house, ascended in Gemini in the 1st house, Mercury in Taurus in the 11th house, Mars and Leo in the 3rd house, Saturn and Leo in the 4th house. Where I hung out the most during these 25 years is Uranus and Scorpio in the 6th house. Neptune and Sagittarius in the 7th house. Pluto and Libra in the 5th house. Part of fortune of Libra in the 5th house. North Node, Libra in the 5th house. Today is June 23rd, 2023. American River, Sacramento, California, United States, West Coast, Earth, Osananda. I am Osananda. My legal name is Evan J. Zarias Gorman. My other name was Jared McLean Lene Gorman. Nice to meet you. Again, this is another introduction. I'm being silly. I just got angry. And being by the river is cool because I'm going to just let the river water is life. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, river. Thank you, land. Thank you, fire, which is that spirit, that righteous anger that just came through. And this is healing. And this is how I heal. Thank you.